Hey everybody, tonight we're going to be talking about the multiple track mechanical sliders. I have had these two in my collection since about March of last year, so about a year. And pretty interesting. I paid a little more for these than you have to now. Actually, this is about the same, but we'll get into that in a second. These are all the flavors it's available in now. I can imagine it might come out in a few different more. But the interesting thing is that it has 4 different tracks. You can see in this PEI one here. It's actually 3 different tracks. The 2 on the outside are exactly the same. Then on the inside you have a slightly denser track and then a very dense track. And what we'll do is we'll take the stainless steel one. I'll demonstrate each one of those tracks for you. Otherwise they're all the same. And I'm really happy with them. We'll take them apart, compare them, weigh them, measure them, do all the usual stuff. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me at the end. So please stick around, we'll have some fun. Okay, as I was saying, I got 2 of these a good while back. And originally I paid $27 for the PEI and $35 for this Bakelite. This is stainless steel and this is G10. Recently, I found these for a lot less at a different store, and that's the one provided in the non-affiliated link in the comments and in the pinned comment and in the description. So, and it's AliExpress, so it's shop at your own risk. So keep that in mind. But either way, the good news is that these 3 can be found at that store for under $15, and that's pretty darn good for the quality that you're going to get. This one's a little harder to find. If you can find it, it's still going to cost around $30. So let's move on from there. All right, so you probably wonder what these things sound like. Well, I've already done a review on these 2 when they came in, and we can refer back to those. I'll put a link to those in the description and comments as well. This is the PEI. Right now in the standard, well, I call it the standard mode. It's currently these 2 outside sets of detents, and there you can see maybe in the reflection a little bit better. I have a ball and spring. Whoops! I have a ball and spring. You can see from the back that there's a place for 1, 2, 3, 4 different springs. You could put 4 springs and 4 balls in this at one time if you want, but it would probably be a very mushy mess of. Some people like that. Kyle, for one, over on Fidget Fix, or not Fidget Fix, Fidget Focused. Kyle Spencer, he likes that mushy stuff. So you could put 4 balls, 4 springs, and have all these simultaneously working for you. I don't think that's for me. I like the most spaced out pattern out here. But like I said, we'll take the stainless steel part one. We'll try each out so that you can see what those are like. But with that setting, which is 2 outside tracks, the least dense tracks, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 clicks either direction. There is a small lanyard hole at the bottom of each one of these, but it's very, very thin on some of these synthetic ones. And you might even see I've scratched that one up a little bit by temporarily putting a split ring on there, which we're going to do with the stainless steel one. I have a lot more faith in that holding up to another attempt at putting a split ring on. The stainless steel one is really nice. Very dense. The stainless steel metal absorbs the sound. I don't think I mentioned, but I believe these 2 have white ceramic balls, and these 2 happen to have glass balls. That's just the way it turns out. But that's stainless steel for you. That's like a brushed finish. I like that. I prefer that over polished. Bakelite, very light, in fact. This is orangish in color, sort of a dark orangish. Bit of a waxy feel to the surface. It's good for grip. Has a nice nice dense click. Again, this little lanyard hole, very, very thin right there. I would hesitate to carry that on a keychain or anything. G10, this is another new one to me. This one and this one are new to me. This one, slightly thicker there at the lanyard hole, but again, this one's synthetic. I only really trust doing that with the stainless steel one, and we will at the very end here. This is one of my first green or jade G10 pieces. You can sort of see the texture of the G10 in there. I'm not so sure I'm fond of the color, but we'll see. Good sound, good feel, good grip. I like that. It does not glow in the dark, although it looks like it might. And then, of course, PEI. Now this is incredibly loud and pingy. That could be the glass balls, the springs. I don't know if the springs are different values in all these or not. We can check that here, and I'll show you what one of these comes with here in a minute. A little sharper, a little louder, crisper. So yeah, that's 11 clicks when you're in that mode. The number, of course, changes when we put it into the different modes, which we will do later. Well, we can do what came in the box, although there was no box. These were each just in a plastic bag. Now, this is my own plastic bag, but that's about the same size that they were in. And this contains the parts of the two new pieces. So I believe you'll be able to see through on my hand there. You get 2 springs and 2 balls with each. One of them came with white ceramic balls, and it's hard to see, but there's 2 glass balls in there. And they did include 2 extra screws, which is a big plus, I think. So that's it for parts. There was no other packaging. There is no branding on these. That's why I'm going with unknown maker. Alrighty, let's do some comparisons here. And we'll start with the usual suspects. Metal Toys DZ Top B slider. Very small, it is oval shaped. So I think I'm just going to show you one. I don't need to compare this with all of these. They're all the same size. And the Mackie CP3. You know what I didn't do? It's almost not worth doing with this because there's not much travel. But there you go. There they are extended. Now the Mackie CP3. And I picked 2 that were just similar in size and shape. There are more and more people that have the S Nano or the S Nano V2 by Ant Design, and that does approximate the size and shape here. I try to pick things that some of you will actually have in your collection so you get an idea what size things actually are. And I don't keep a banana for scale. They go bad too quickly. And the Sky Tower. I forget what Tego designed. Stainless steel, 042. So that, this is a magnetic slider, pivoting. Okay, I think we'll go on to measurements and weights. Alrighty. Alright, there are no magnets in these, so we're safe. Shouldn't affect the scale. That stainless steel is 93. Bakelite, 19. G10, 29. PEI, 18. So in comparison, the S Nano V1 from Design, this does have magnets in it. Let's see here. This is my spacer to keep the magnets away from the scale. So that's 87, 88, 88. 93. So I think that's, and I suppose if you have one of these, 81. There you go. Let's move on to measurements. All right, get this one turned over. Get these guys all lined up nice and pretty. And we'll measure them. Well, we'll measure one. We don't need to measure them all. I am getting 53 approximately millimeters by 26. Thickness would be about 14, and length when extended 73. Okay, well, let's start taking things apart and doing a little bit of comparison of the different options you have here to choose from. We'll operate on the stainless steel one mostly. That way I'm not wearing out the threads of these synthetic ones, but I'll use the clear one to help demonstrate what we're doing. The clear one, at least, well, maybe that's a little too loud. Let's go with Bakelite. So Bakelite, this is Bakelite, and I'm utilizing just this outside track and this outside track. I may have misspoke earlier because the other two alternatives are here and here. Now this is a super dense track and this is a much less dense track. So right now, using the two outside tracks, you get 9 clicks in either direction. And what we'll do is take out these two screws. They're Phillips. I don't know. I recently discovered there's more than one type of Phillips out there. This is a Phillips 0, and that seems to fit pretty well. The key thing with any of these fasteners, any kind of screw is called a fastener, is just find the one that fits the best, because if it fits really well, it's much less likely to strip. You don't want to damage that, and you won't be able to get it out. So see, that fits nice. The screws just don't want to cooperate, but that's okay. I'm just going to lift off the top anyhow. Here we have a ball and a spring, a ball and a spring. Here's another little countersink for the other two springs and balls. So you could put all 4 in at one time, or we could just put in, like I said, we're going to be testing out right now. These two outside balls are hitting these two outside tracks. So let's see, that's like a middle density. Let's go from that to this, which means we don't need actually one spring and one ball. We're just going to be using one of the other tracks. And when I flip this over, I want this to be on this one. So I will try to, well, I was going to try to move the spring and the ball at the same time, but that ain't happening. There we go. So now when I flip this over, it'll be this least dense track against that ball and spring. The trick is to line up that hole with that ball, which is precariously balanced on a spring. But if you're slow, use your other fingers to help guide things. Gently push it together, and once it's together, give it a little test. Sounds okay to me. You have to keep in mind too that that little lanyard hole has to line up with this middle piece. You don't want to mix those up. So let's quickly just tighten these down. And then we can compare that with this. So how many clicks is this now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So instead of 9, we have 8. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm sorry. 11 clicks is where we were before. My mistake. Definitely different. Definitely noticeable. I like that. Much more aggressive. I could stand to put less strong springs in this as well, and it wouldn't hurt to put POM balls, and I want to stress POM and not PP. Polypropylene balls, in my experience, are just too soft, and they look exactly the same when you look at Amazon. Just avoid the PP or the polypropylene balls altogether because they're just too soft. On a metal slider like this would be like a cheese grater. The ball just disintegrates. So you want to go with POM. And I used to say that POM was just a type of nylon, but then somebody corrected me. It's not. POM is a specific type of compounded plastic, and it holds up really well. Those are your, when you see a white plastic ball in any of your mechanical sliders, 9 times out of 10 it's probably POM. I've heard a lot of people say Teflon. Teflon's awfully soft, and I'm not sure I've seen it very often. Let's try now putting it on the other side. That means we'll be going down this track, which is the most dense of all the selections. Let's try this again, see if I can lift the spring and the ball at the same time. Oh, nope. Nope. That's okay. Okay, again, you want to line up your lanyard notch with your lanyard hole, and I'm going to try to get that to go down into this little hole right here. Okay, I'll tighten this up. Ooh. Doesn't even need POM balls. Don't even need plastic balls with that. Wow, that's nice. I am keeping that the way it is. Okay, there we've compared. Well, here we are. Maybe we didn't do a good comparison last time. Well, that was 11, I guess, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we had 8, I believe, when we were on the other dense track. This is the most dense track. Let's see if we can count these out. 13, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go with 13. 13 in either direction. Buttery. I like that. Okay, let us now play around with what is required if you want to put a lanyard on this, because unfortunately that's a very, very small lanyard hole. You would not be able to get paracord through that. Even if you had gutted paracord, it would be too narrow. I can try to measure it here. I have my very accurate calipers here. Of course, it's a very small hole and it's down in there. I'd probably get a better measurement once I took it apart, but in a quick look, I'm seeing 3 millimeters. Let's go ahead, pop it apart, and then what I want to do is install this little black colored steel split ring into here, into the lanyard hole, so that we can then attach one of my lanyard clips temporarily. I may leave that on too, I don't know. At first, I did, like I said, I did try, these are the first two that I had, and I did put this little lanyard clip on there, and I darn near damaged. These are so thin, the walls right there are so thin, I darn near damaged them. And I came to the conclusion, after having put them on there and attached my lanyard, that this particular design doesn't really need a lanyard. It's so big in your hand, excuse me, it's so big in your hand already that a lanyard almost gets in the way. So this is not one of those items that benefits necessarily from having a lanyard. Now, a lot of people would want to have a lanyard just because it's fun to have a lanyard and it's pretty, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it'll still work just fine. But overall, a lanyard is not necessary to have a good experience with this particular design. Having said that, let's go through extraordinary efforts to put a lanyard on one. We'll take this apart one last time. I don't think those are ever going to come out for me. They just don't want to come out. That is fine. Okay. I neglected to say, let's go ahead and get in here. I did not point out that the screw, the part that acts as your limiting mechanism, this screw right here travels up and down this groove in the middle. So, and it is a Phillips head screw as well, same size as this. If you encounter problems with a rubbing issue, if I turn that down too tight, it won't move at all. So it needs to be loosened up just a little bit. But if you loosen it too far, it's going to stick up above the surface, and then it's going to interfere with the top piece sliding on, fitting on. So you may need to adjust that. If some things feel weird, take it apart, check that screw, make sure it's not too tight or too loose. Alrighty, now what I want to do is add the ring to this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the spring and ball right off of there. And then what I find saves your fingernails. Get out that old trusty Swiss Army knife classic. Use it all the time. And get it in there somewhere. I just have it wedged in there rather than my fingernail. I cut my fingernails down to the pink pretty close most of the time anyhow. Not much of a fingernail there. Now the tricky part is trying to get this on there. Once I get it started, I can use these to make things maybe a little bit easier. I think I'm going to spread it apart a little bit more. If I can just get it started and hold it in place, then I can use these pliers to twist it You can see how rough this is. Now it's on now, but it's a very stiff spring, and it takes a lot of effort to spring it apart. And you can imagine, it didn't really make any scratch marks on there to speak of. You can imagine how rough that was on. You can see the marks that I left on here maybe. Anyhow, that's on there nicely. Now we can put everything back together again. And I want to realign. First of all, I want to make sure my lanyard notch lines up with the lanyard hole. And then I want to go with the most dense pattern, which was this one, which means this hole. And when we flip this thing over, that means over here. So I will put the spring and ball in the appropriate location. Get a few things out of the way. And now I can put this back on. I think my split ring is getting in the way a little bit. There, I moved it out of the way. Okay, sounds like everything's working, so I can tighten the screws back up. Alrighty, here we are. You can hardly tell that it's there. Doesn't get in the way at all. And now I have a place to attach one of my lanyard clips. And I've said it before, every time I bring one of these out, I have a video on how I made these and how I made one like this. You don't have to have a fancy knot at the end of it, but my video tells you where you can find these clips on Amazon, and real basic instructions on how to make a lanyard clip. And I think these are, I don't make them for sale. I only have a few for myself, and I made that video showing you how to make them. But you can make them as fancy as you want, and it's nice because for storage, that takes up a lot of space, a lot less space than a bunch of lanyards or a bunch of lanyards hanging off all your pieces. But let's put that back on and give it a try. Okay. Yeah, that seam doesn't seem to get in the way at all. Again, I think this fidget is just the right size for your hand anyhow. Unless you're prone to dropping things, then it would be good to have. If you were walking around doing this over the sidewalk, wouldn't want to drop it. Otherwise, it's big enough to stay in your hand without too much trouble. You don't have to worry about it falling out of your hand. But that works pretty well. I think I'll keep that little, that was kind of a bugger to put on there. And I don't want to risk it again. I don't want to risk it on these nice synthetic ones when I'm never going to put a lanyard on there anyhow. But yeah, let's do this last comparison here. I think I have a new little favorite combo going on here. I like that. I like the way that turned out. Just amazed at how quiet that is. All right. One last thing that I try to remember to do, just in case people are here to figure out how in the world to put their toy back together, or find out what parts they need to replace. Let's measure these balls and springs. I'm assuming all the springs that I've encountered are the same strength. They all feel about the same strength. So the spring, I can tell you just by looking at it, is a standard size. That's 5 millimeters tall by 3 millimeters in diameter. And the wire diameter, we'll just check. It doesn't really matter, but we're at about right around the 030. 028 is what I'm getting. 030. 029. So right around 030. And the ball size. Oops. The ball size is. Oops. 3 millimeters on the nose. Okay. I think that's all I have to say about it. You should be able to find, like I said, all of these, with the exception of the PEI one. This one, this one, and this one can all be found for under $15 on AliExpress. And I have a link to, a non-affiliated link to that store. This one you'll have to look around for and you might have to pay a little bit more for. But that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.